video start. I hooked up a Bluetooth keyboard to my scooter, and so I have a Super Nintendo video game here.
The following podcast is a Dear Media production. She's a lifestyle
blogger extraordinaire.
I'm checking for the first time to see
he's a
if
serial entrepreneur.
A very smart
the Super
company.
Nintendo
And
works
now
in the
Lauren Everett
background.
and Michael Bostic are bringing you along for the
Great.
ride.
Get ready for some major realness.
So here's a
Welcome to the
hiking, biking
Skinny
trail.
Confidential. Him
There's
and her.
a map over here.
You know, the first date, well, why don't you come over to my house?
That's,
we'll have some
Robert
pizza,
Greene, author.
and we'll just hang
Go
out.
ahead and put the mast up.
That's just what life is normally like. Let's go someplace special. Let's go someplace different. Surprise.
Yeah, the video game does
take you
work on
somewhere
my
I've never
keyboard.
been taken before. So a person who can't make the effort. Seduction is about effort. And it doesn't matter what the effort is. If you show the other person that you care that deeply, that you're going to do something that took some thinking, some time, that means you're thinking about
Great.
them.
And the video's
Read those
recording too.
signs in a non-verbal
Here's the
way.
trail information. I have a video from years ago on that EKG.
We have an amazing show for you today. With
The stage is set.
the
The green
only
flag
individual
drop.
I've ever been starstruck by on this show. And we've had some pretty wild.
I'll probably need to look at
individuals.
that map.
This one in
Red
particular,
fades into
Mr.
left.
Robert Greene,
Roadkill pounds into first.
speaker, many things, entrepreneur.
Oh, it rained.
He's out there. He is somebody that has been very prolific.
rained, so I
in
can't
my
go on the
life,
trail.
Lauren's life. We've read almost all of his work, anything from The Art of Seduction, The 33 Strategies of War, 48
It
Laws of
rained,
Power,
a couple of
Mastery,
days
The
ago.
Laws of Human Nature, The 50th Law, you name it. And you pick up any of his books and there's something there for everybody. And today, I'm excited because this is his second appearance on the show. The first one was back on episode 166, so it's been a while. And I'm excited for this one because typically when people have Robert on, from what I've seen, they discuss 48 Laws of Power, or Mastery, or War. This time,
Well, here's
he took
the
it another
hiking
direction.
entrance.
He
It looks
touched
open.
on one of his books that
Let the
he
carnage
wrote early on
begin.
called The Art of Seduction. And I think it's really relevant to anybody that listens to this show and anybody in life.
I think if it was
Constantly getting in relationships, whether we're dating or business relationships,
drier,
friendships,
then
deep relationships, and we ultimately want to know what turns people on and what turns people off. And so this conversation is with the master himself, talking about what it takes to seduce somebody, what it takes
What
to
happened
turn
to the
somebody
video game?
off, what to avoid, what to do, what not to do. And I really enjoyed this conversation.
Just to also hop in here, I am almost done reading The Art of Seduction. It is such a good book. I have learned so much. And the reason I'm so obsessed with Robert Greene, and he truly is one of my favorite authors, is because he gives you tools that you can have in your toolbox for life.
There's no
And what's
option
so
on
incredible
Apple
about
Podcasts to
him
hear
is
a
that
podcast at
sometimes
2
when you
times
read a
speed.
book, you don't need to read it again.
The stage is set. The
His
green flag
books are
drop.
books that you go back and you study. Like, I will go back and listen to something on Audible from him, or listen to a podcast with him, or highlight his book again, and I study.
Well,
There's so
I'd,
many things that you can just use throughout your whole
I
life,
charged
and so many tools.
both
It's
batteries.
incredible.
One of them
Yeah, I
seems to
don't
be
think
going
people
down.
realize how much influence Robert Greene has over popular culture. And one little known fact which we talk about in this episode is his book 48 Laws of Power is one of the most read books in the U.S. prison system or penal system. And there's a reason for that which we get into. And also he's mentored many people that we've had on this show, specifically, and this is public knowledge, Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday was his mentee, interned for Robert for a long time before going off and creating his own extremely successful writing career. So he's got his hands in a lot of things and really knows his shit.
Did you also
Well, there's no
know
off-road trails. There's no dirt trails that I can go on.
Prisons and jails had banned his book 48 Laws of Power because it was giving prisoners so many different ideas of how to gain power in prison.
I did know that.
You did?
Yeah, I think I told you. But anyways, I was going to let you go.
Did you also know that he wrote the 50th
Shame.
Law with 50 Cent?
Yes, I did know that. Listen, I'm Robert Greene. I might be one of his biggest fans, if not the biggest. I told you, I was actually starstruck the first
Okay,
time.
so
This
if
one
I-
too, I was like, it's weird for me doing this show to then sit with someone like that. And it's not like, a celebrity or a musician or an actor. And it's Robert Greene.
It's
He's
kind
the
of
guy.
funny too in this episode. He kind of calls you out a little bit, and he kind of sides with me, which I'm about. If you are a listener of the show, this is one of those episodes I'm going to tell you I would take notes on. I never listen to our show after we put it out. I'm going to listen back to the show. He is so smart and so savvy. It's one of those shows. Like, if you're driving, I would honestly, like, I would listen again after you get out of the car.
Listen, they say never meet your
The
idols,
stage
but
is set.
goddamn,
The
I'm
green
happy
flag
I met
drop.
Robert Greene. So Robert, thank you for coming on the show.
I think I see a trail over there.
This is the Skinny Confidential. Him and her.
Shred is dominating
Robert,
the
I gotta
ring.
tell you, so we've done about 400 of these
Was
things.
lost
It's crazy. You start something, and then you know, like you kind of get down the road a few years, and you're like, oh wow, like this is done a few of these things. And people ask all the time, like, okay, of all the people you've interviewed, have you ever been
Viper
starstruck?
jams into first.
And typically, no. But I do say, and I swear to God, I'm not bullshitting here, just here. I say one time I got starstruck by Robert Greene. And it's because
Well,
I'm such a fan of your work and how
I'll use the paved path, I suppose. I'm not doing anything else.
every single thought, every single thing in my
Down to
mind.
first.
Right, we're gonna
Uh,
before I even ask it.
I think I was gonna try a couple of different
It's
games.
not- It hasn't been some celebrity or musician or it's
Was lost out there.
Wow, I'm very humbled by that. You know, I still have a slight inferiority complex because I spent so many years without any success until my late 30s. You know, I lived in this kind of crummy one-bedroom apartment in Santa Monica, and I still sort of carry that mentality, that period in my head. So I haven't quite adjusted to anybody being starstruck by me. Why? You know, there are a lot of more people I'd be starstruck. I wouldn't be starstruck with myself. Of course, I have to live with myself, and I can get a little bit.
Let me load a new game.
I think it's because
You're one of the greatest authors of the time.
yeah, well, and when I think about like my personal, like I was talking to Lauren, like my personal favorite hobbies it's reading. I've been reading since a
great.
young age. It's my favorite thing to do of everything that I do. And when you've spent as much time reading, you know, there's so many authors out there. When you find, I'm going to pay you a compliment again, not to make this all about you, but a great author like yourself, and I feel like we've spent a lot of time together, even though this is the second time we're doing this.
Oh,
because
that's really nice.
well, because you're writing, like I've read all your stuff, and it's just been hours and hours of like you in my head. It's so like when I saw you, I was like, oh my God, that's weird. It's not like seeing, you know, an actor I've seen a few movies. It's different. I think it's more intimate.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
When you were living in your one-bedroom apartment, you said it was crummy,
Well, it's a little bit run down.
a little bit run down. Were you as observant as you are now about all these different things you write about, or did that come?
So that's original Mario Kart from Super
No, I've
Nintendo.
always been that way since I was a kid. You know, if you knew my family, you'd understand that a little bit. But I've always been a bit of an introvert, and my way of making my way in the world and protecting myself was sort of really carefully observing the people around me so they wouldn't hurt me in some way, you know. So I became extremely observant at a very young age. And then when I went out in the work world, I had about 60 different jobs before I started writing books. You know, I had all kinds of bosses, some of the worst bosses you can imagine, some good ones too, but a lot of really horrible ones, particularly when I worked in Hollywood. And so those skills that I developed as a child, like just being very careful and observing people and trying to get into their heads so I could understand them, that carried over very well when I entered the work world. You know? So
When you talk
I
about
think
all these
Plan
things
C
you
was just to
talk
ride on
about
the
sometimes,
grass, like on the
can you
fields.
give us a little bit of detail of what it was like? Were you working at a studio? What were the kind of bosses you're talking about? Because it seems like the Hollywood experience really helped lay the
I'm
foundation
gonna adjust my
for
headset
the books you've written.
so I can hear
it did
vehicles.
in a way because, you know, in 48 Laws of Power, they say the world is like a court in ancient times. Maybe the 14th, they may be more winged.
It's the end of the road.
The same thing now. There's the person who's in charge of the CEO, the director, the head of a production company, and they're like a king. And around that person, male or female, court forms, and everyone's kind of sycophantic and sort of saying how wonderful that person is. Hollywood kind of took it to a new level. You know, nobody around King Louis XIV could ever say
There's a
the truth.
field.
Everything the king said was wonderful. It was fantastic. It was so witty. That was so.
Maybe it rained here.
Well, when I looked at Hollywood,
overnight.
and I was working for a film director, everybody was doing the same thing. They were fawning over him. You could say the stupidest, most banal thing, or making the worst movie. And, oh, that's fantastic. I'm not gonna say his name. I almost said his name. I'm not gonna say his name. You know. And then I remember the first day I was on the set of a film we were shooting, And this is the first time I'd ever been on the set. I was going, God, this is so boring. You know, you're not hearing any music or anything. And the actress wasn't very interesting. Didn't have that kind of like
it's a
move.
giant spider.
And I thought, this isn't good. This isn't going to work out. And then it said cut. I was going, wow, that was fantastic. It's the best thing we've ever heard. That was amazing. So that kind of
something
pumping people up,
happened to the
those kind
scooter
of
and it broke down.
Those issues of always trying to suck up to the person above you. In Hollywood, it's so extreme. So that kind of gave me the metaphor. And you asked me what kinds of jobs I had. They weren't that sexy. I tried writing screenplays. I wasn't very good at it. I wrote mostly comedies because that's sort of my spirit. I'm kind of somebody who likes satire a lot. I never had much success. Then I worked as a researcher on some television shows whose name I won't mention because I'm a little bit embarrassed about. And then I worked as an assistant to a director whose name I won't mention as well. And then his wife was a screenwriter. Lovely people. I haven't think really nice people. I cherish those memories. But they were kind of tough. And they were definitely creatures of Hollywood. I worked with high-level actresses, helping them with their scripts that they had to do. So I got around. I was only in Hollywood for about 8 years. I got around. I did a lot of different jobs. So
That was really rough on the scooter.
Do you think your bosses?
Maybe there's some way to disable the music here.
well, yes, some of them have. And then ironically enough, years later, here we are now, and I get a lot of people writing me or contacting me, very famous film directors or people, high-level people in Hollywood, who said that book was their Bible, including Jeffrey Katzenberg. So, that's kind of the weird thing about it, because the book was inspired by Hollywood. It was kind of my hate letter to Hollywood, because I don't want to put it so strongly, but I really did not like the experience in Hollywood. And yet it really appealed to them because they could understand where it came from. Yes, some of them have read it.
I don't understand how we don't have, and maybe we will. We need a 48 Laws Netflix or movie or something.
You don't know how painful it is for you to say that. I have been dealing with this for 16 years now. It's kind of like a tease. I don't want to maybe say something obscene here, what kind of tease it is, but we're about, this company really wants to do it. This other one, this high-level person, this rap star, this actor, blah, blah, blah. I get contacted, I get meetings, and all this stuff. Nothing ever happens. So right now we're going through another phase.
Okay, the scooter's on cruise control.
She's the CAA.
I can't really see the screen because my camera,
hysterically,
or my video or whatever.
This is going to be the one that never quite happens.
Why can't you ever do, and this is like kind of off topic and we'll get back to topic, but I think it'd be so cool if you did like a 48 episode podcast, and then they bought the rights to the podcast and did it off that.
Well, people want to do that, and I've been approached by people. I'm a little bit wary of it. I don't know if this is so interesting for your audience, but I always want to be different. I'm deadly afraid of having yet another podcast.
I need a better background for the video.
But I totally get what you're saying.
So I want to do something different, right? And I have some ideas about what that would be like. Because I'm a bit of a weirdo. I don't fit into categories. So I've been approached by that idea. It's just also after my stroke, and working on 2 books at the same time and dealing with 2 hours of physical therapy a day. Wow. I only have so much energy and so much time, So it's in the works. It's an idea that I take very seriously, and I would like to do. I think I would do a good job in it, but I have to be careful about my time.
I thought I was under the impression it didnn't rain.
I'm hoping this is
last night.
my magnum opus.
Apparently it did.
Hopefully my most popular. People who read it, well, this is so weird.
If you need anyone to read it, I'm available.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I really want to talk about Seductions podcast. Michael and I sort of, laid out.
I need a better background than the game would be okay if that music though.
Seduction. I would love it if you could describe some of the different seductors, and you don't have to say all of them, but maybe you could talk about the charismatic, the star, the different ones. I just got back from a long walk. I did a workout this morning, and there's nothing worse than walking, moving my body, and working out, and then coming home and wanting a cold beer, but it being full of bloating ingredients, which is why I know everyone is going
the commercials in this podcast, I forgot.
It's an organic beer, and it's all about celebrating the wins of everyday life. It's organic, okay? It's a refreshing,
I think I'm gonna
simple beer with organic,
stop
completely
the
organic
podcast
water.
and the video game
this is why
and have just a news report from the 1970s or something.
Beer to celebrate. I've always been a beer fan. Ever since I was 21, I was like very into beer. But I always was so careful about drinking it because it does bloat you. I feel like we all are working out, we're eating healthy, we're doing all the things, all the
There's no
wellness
YouTube
things. You're
in the
gonna drink
background.
beer, why not make it organic?
Done.
Right?
Done. YouTube. Might have to start video part 2. I'll go ahead and start video part 2.